Alrighty, so I finished Bayonetta 3, slept on it, woke up, and now I have thoughts about it. I'm officially immune to spoilers. I can look up anything I want about the game now, and no one can hurt me. And I'm really glad I didn't get spoiled, because some fucking shit happens in this game. If anything, now I want the spoilers, because there's so much stuff in this game that I'm, like, desperate for explanations about. Like, what? Shit's wild. So, in terms of Bayonetta 3 compared to Bayonetta 1 and 2, I think it's complicated. I think it's a complicated question to answer, because I know a lot of people, to this day, swear by Bayonetta 1 and say, like, it's one of the best games ever made. And I see that. But there's also so many fucking problems with the original Bayonetta that, like, it's kind of a chore for me to go back and play that game. Like, I see where people are coming from when, like, Bayonetta 1 into Bayonetta 2, the skill ceiling is a lot lower. The ability, the avenues for player expression and you know, the combo lab kind of thing, it's just a lot lower in Bayonetta 2. And I can see how that gets considered a straight up downgrade. But, like, man, Bayonetta 1 had a lot of jank bullshit. Like, Bayonetta 1 had a lot of the instant death QuickTime events. Like, look, Resident Evil 4 had instant death QuickTime events. But Resident Evil 4 didn't grade you on your performance either. There's nothing worse than being on a pure platinum run and then forgetting, oh shit, the QuickTime event, dying, and then instantly losing your pure platinum run and you gotta restart the entire level now. That's bullshit. Fuck that. Fuck Bayonetta 1 for its instant death QuickTime events. They're not even implemented very well. The fucking margin for error is so slim. And honestly, like, I don't think a lot, like, there's like 6 enemies in Bayonetta that are actually, like, fun to fight against, and all the other ones are just aggravating. And, like, the fantasy, like, you're gonna sit there and tell me you had fun with the Space Harrier shmup minigame. Like, I get it, Hideki Kamiya loves him some shmups. But you're gonna sit there and tell me you relish replaying the fucking Space Harrier missile shmup minigame? You're gonna sit there and lie to me? Like, come on. Bayonetta 1 has a lot of fucking problems. Don't sit there and lie to me. And that's the thing. I don't think any of the Bayonetta games are perfect. All of the Bayonetta games have something wrong with them that kind of holds them back. And for me, Bayonetta 1 has the QuickTime events and just the constant minigame fuckery. Bayonetta 2 has kind of a lame ending, which is a crime for a Platinum game. A Platinum game with a lame ending, criminal. Absolutely unacceptable. And, like I said, like, the skill ceiling is just so much lower. It's just, it doesn't have, like, the almost like, what would you consider it? Like, fashionability? You know, like, take 7 different girls to a clothes store, you're gonna end up with 24 different outfit combinations, right? So, like, that's that's appropriate for Bayonetta's character. That's an appropriate comparison, because she is a very fashionista style character. And Bayonetta 2, like, there's just so much less accessorizing, there's so much less clothing options in the comparison between clothing options, fashionista, and gameplay. Like, the avenues for what you can do as a player playing the video game. You know what I mean? And that was a big thing that when Bayonetta 2 came out, people, like hardcore gamers, were saying like, it's kind of a downgrade. But superficially and from a casual perspective, Bayonetta 2 seemed like just a straight up upgrade in every single way. It looks better. I guess that was kind of it. It just kind of looks better, and it has less bullshit with like the QuickTime events and mini games and stuff like that. I saw someone compare it once when talking about Metal Gear Solid. Like, there's two different kinds of Metal Gear Solid fans. There's Metal Gear Solid fans who think that the games got better in terms of gameplay, in terms of pure gameplay, that they got better with every game, and then there's people who think that it peaked with MGS3. And when it comes to Metal Gear Solid, I definitely am someone who thinks MGS3 is the absolute peak of that series, but I definitely get where people are coming from, where Metal Gear Solid 5 is the funnest video game to play. And so I get where people are coming from when, like, Bayonetta 1 is the gameplay peak, but Bayonetta 2 is a funner game to play. So where does Bayonetta 3 fit in? It's hard to say that any one game in this series is better than any of the others, because they all excel in different areas, and they all have really crippling downsides that kind of hold them back. And I already kind of talked about, I think the biggest thing that holds back Bayonetta 3, I already talked about it in that last stream video I did, is the gameplay is really dumbed down. I think it's even lower than Bayonetta 2. I think the fact that there's no magic gauge at all that isn't associated with the Demon Masquerade and the Infernal Demon Summoning gameplay system, I think that is really detrimental, actually, to the scope of gameplay. Like, even in that first stream video I talked about, like, or no, I think the second one. Like, the instant you get a second weapon, it becomes clear you cannot equip two different weapons for Bayonetta's hands and Bayonetta's feet, which was a thing you could do in the last two games. And some weapons were hands only, and some weapons were feet only. Actually, I don't think any of the weapons were feet only. No, yeah, the ice skates were feet only. In this, it's just pick a weapon. There's no customizability with equipping one set of weapons to the hands and one set of weapons to the feet, and then having two different equip sets to go with. So you can have, like, Scarborough Fair and then the ice skates on your feet on one like equipment setup, like equipment A, and then you could have the katana and the fire, the fire claw, the fire and electricity claws on your feet on equipment set B. You can't do that in Bayonetta 3. It's just you're using the guns, or you're using the spear, or you're using, the fans, like whatever weapon, and that's it. Like, the ability, the player expression is at an all-time low. And the Infernal Demon and the Demon Masquerade gameplay mechanics are not enough to make up for the difference there. It's honestly kind of disappointing that the game has so much less going on under the hood in terms of gameplay compared to either of the two Bayonetta games. I feel like the games are just getting dumbed down in terms of raw gameplay. Ice cream. With each progressive game, I'm gonna put this away. I'm getting distracted. It's kind of unfortunate that I would sincerely say Bayonetta 3 is the gameplay valley of the series. It doesn't even have the same amount of unlockable characters. Like, there might be one more unlockable character that I haven't gotten yet, but I'm pretty sure it's just Bayonetta, Jean, and Viola. Maybe Rodon is gonna be unlockable, I'm not sure, but Bayonetta 2 had Bayonetta, Jean, Rosa, Baldur, Rodon. Like, that game had a lot of playable characters, and so it feels like a straight downgrade. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Unlockables. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's Bayonetta, Viola, and Jean. That's it! As far as anyone knows. I mean, I know the game just come out. Oh yeah, post-game unlockables, okay. Infinite, Climax, Jean, Witch Trials, Climax Earring, Platinum Ticket. Yeah, I mean, like, I still have to do the Rodon boss fight. Yeah, that's kind of it. Like, I don't know. There's only 3 playable characters, and one of them is Jean. Like, Bayonetta 1 only had Bayonetta and Jean, but it was the first game. Like, yeah, you know? Bayonetta 2 had Bayonetta, Jean, and Rosa, which were all essentially the same type of character with different tweaks. And then it also had Baldur, and then it also had Rodon. Like, that was a huge upgrade. And now we're just back to Bayonetta and Jean, and then Viola, who has, like, Viola's has fun, unique gameplay. But then there's even less customizability with her than with the other characters. I don't know. I also didn't like needing to do Metal Gear Revengeance block timing in order to activate Witch Time when playing as Viola. I like Viola as a character, but in terms of the gameplay, I think Bayonetta 3 is a straight downgrade, and I think that's kind of sad. I mean, like, it's still platinum, it's still fun to play, it's still a character action game. It still has spectacle, and it still has, like, the combo lab, but there's... The game lets you, like, cheat, almost. Like, there's so much bottom-of-the-rung, like, first-order optimal strategy shit you can do with infinite heal stomps, because you have no magic meter to restrict you from just heal stomp, heal stomp, heal stomp, heal stomp. And there's no combo penalty for doing that over and over again, because it's a Wicked Weave move. You're racking up combo points, you're getting combo multipliers, it's doing pretty much like a full sweep of like combo points every time you do it, instead of degrading like it does with regular attacks. You can really just, like, cheese your way through a lot of fights. And then there's one of the demon summons, one of the infernal demons, Ball, the frog. She has a move that is straight broken. Like, Ball, the frog character, and you're gonna see me doing this a lot in the footage that I'm using on the screen right now. You can just summon Ball, hit the R button 4 times, and she will do this move where, like, she causes a rain of, like, a poison rain to come down, and it hits every enemy on the screen, almost to the point of killing them all. And it racks up an insane amount of combo points, and you can just play keep away with the enemies, not letting them touch you, while you wait for the less than 15-second wind-up for Ball to do that attack. And it really lets you, like, just cheese your way through most encounters, including boss fights. And neither of the previous Bayonetta games let you do that. Like, there's the accessory, the Immortal Marionette, which is like the one-button sleepwalk through the game accessory. But you don't even need that. You can just use Ball, and you'll basically be able to pure platinum your way through almost every encounter in the game. Like, did they not catch this? It feels almost like an exploit. It's kind of ridiculous. Whereas, like, Bayonetta 1 and 2 had the magic meter. And you could not do out-the-gate Wicked Weaves, like the Heel Stomp move, willy-nilly because you were restricted by the magic meter so much. So it's kind of unfortunate to me that they didn't consider how implementing the Infernal Demons and the Demon Masquerade and having the magic meter be associated with those, like, kind of summon, those summon mechanics. They didn't consider how that would affect the other combat mechanics that were kind of being grandfathered in from the old games. And so that's really the kind of the worst part about the game to me, is it feels really dumbed down. It feels like a downgrade in terms of the combat, even from Bayonetta 2. And Bayonetta 2, you could argue, and many people have reasonably argued, that Bayonetta 2 was already a massive downgrade from Bayonetta 1. So, like, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate to me, to have to, like, really come to that that conclusion, that Bayonetta 3 feels like, in terms of raw gameplay, kind of the worst one of the three. And I mean, like, there's more to it than just that, but if we're talking about video games, you know, that the gameplay is kind of the most important thing. So, again, Bayonetta 1 is the best in terms of gameplay, but it has a lot of bullshit holding it back. So to me, Bayonetta 1 and 2 are kind of a really close race. And Bayonetta 3 is, like, the easy bronze medal out of the three of them. Like, Bayonetta 1 and 2 are competing for the gold, depending on how I feel on whatever day of the week it is. I'm not sure which one I would give it to. But Bayonetta 3 is definitely dumbed down. And I find that really unfortunate. But, obviously, as a video game, there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more going on than just the gameplay. And it is a platinum game. I think the ending for Bayonetta 3 is much better than the ending for Bayonetta 2. It's kind of comparable. I think it's a little bit better than the ending of Bayonetta 1. I think in terms of the ending, Bayonetta 3 has the best one. And that's a relevant conversation to have when we're talking about a platinum game. Because, I mean, like, platinum games have crazy fucking endings. The story, I think the biggest issue is that it is a multiverse story. And it's not Bayonetta 3's fault that multiverse stories and that whole thing of the multiverse has become such a derivative, almost annoying thing in media right now. Like, Bayonetta 3 entered development. They started development on Bayonetta 3 before Rick and Morty ever came out. They started development on Bayonetta 3 before Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness came out. I think even before Loki came out. Like, it has been propelled into, like, just this fucking thing. This thing with fiction of the multiverse, OMG. Sonic Prime, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like, it's become such a thing. And it's not Bayonetta 3's fault that it has joined the fad of multiverse stories like that. But I do think the same problem that plagues pretty much every multiverse story is a problem for Bayonetta 3. And Bayonetta 3 does, of all the multiverse stories out there and the cliches, it's gotten to the point where there are legit fucking cliches when it comes to multiverse stories. Of the multiverse story cliches, I think Bayonetta 3 and the Platinum style really helps. Because when you're talking about multiverse story, it's by its very nature going to be very superficial. Because the entire foundation of a multiverse story, multiverse exploration, is going to different universes and seeing, oh, the traffic lights, instead of being red and green, they're yellow and blue. Oh, like, oh, look at the minor slight change in this multiverse universe. It's like a steampunk thing. Oh, whoa. Like, it's always going to be inherently superficial and lacking in any substance, because it can't have substance. Because you're not going to spend enough time in this new universe setting for it to matter. It's not the main universe that the story is taking place in and around. It's not the universe the characters are from. So it's automatically going to be shallower and not as fleshed out. So it kind of just becomes this like, it's a small world after all theme park ride, where you're skipping through the multiverse, visiting different universes, going, oh, isn't that crazy? In this universe, we're cowboys. Oh, in this universe, my shirt's yellow instead of blue, right? Like, dumb shit like that. But Platinum does superficial, like style really well. So, Bayonetta 3 does some great things with the superficial presentation of the multiverse exploration, where when you go to a new multiverse, you see that happened in the stream we did when we got to Tokyo Shibuya. Like, the list of universes flicked up, and it, like, highlighted the one we're in. And because it's a story about, like, the enemies are destroying the multiverse, the universes, as you progress through the game, there becomes less and less, like, columns for how many universes there are. It gets to the point where, like, more than half of the, like, flick, I'm just gonna put an image up on the screen showing what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah, like, right there. Anyway. And, like, until eventually you get to the end of the game, and every single other multiverse is crossed out and not available, and, like, not showing. Like, they've all been erased except for the one you're in. And it's like, oh, that's really dope. And all the different, like, versions of Bayonetta you meet are really fun. I like the Empress. I like the Chinese Empress Bayonetta. I like Egyptian Pharaoh Bayonetta. I like Arsène Lupin, like Lupin the Third Bayonetta. Again, it's superficial and shallow, but Platinum's gonna platinum. You know, it's got that platinum coat of paint on it that makes it stand out. There's nothing under the hood, but man, it's a pretty hood to look at. And, unlike most multiverse stories, I do think this game had substance to it, had a heart. That's the thing. Platinum games always have that emotional core going for them. Like, Bayonetta 1, like, all three Bayonetta games are kind of stories about motherhood, and Bayonetta being a mother figure for another character. In the first game it was Cereza, in the second game it was for Loki, and in the third game it's for Viola. So there is that maintained theme of Bayonetta as a mother, And it has kind of like a family dynamic going between Bayonetta and Luca and Viola. And I do think, like, thematically, it's not very deep, but I do... It did hit me. It did get me in the feels, you know? I'm not made of stone. That's the thing. Like, I'm not someone who, like, nitpicks. I know it seems that way sometimes, but I'm not someone who nitpicks, like, oh, a plot hole. Like, it's a fictional narrative. It doesn't have to make 100% sense 100% of the time. The point is, what is the story trying to accomplish, and did it succeed? If I don't even know what the fuck the story is trying to accomplish, that's a problem. If I can get what it's going for, but it is not succeeding, then that's a problem. But, like, you can sacrifice... Like, all stories are inherently contrived. Like, characters show up in the same place at the same time. Coincidence happens. Like, characters get out of danger in the nick of time. Characters survive situations they shouldn't be able to. Like, it's fiction. It's not supposed to be reality. It's supposed to be telling a story. And you can sacrifice sense. You can sacrifice common sense and like believability in order to facilitate the message or like the theme or even just the plot or the character journey that's being depicted. So, are there a lot of things in Bayonetta 3 that don't make a lot of fucking sense and are kind of like, what the fuck is even going on? Yes. I don't think the twist with Dr. Sigurd and the Singularity is set up very well. What the fuck is going on with Fairy King Luca? They never actually explain what the hell Arch-Eve and Arch-Adam is. Arc-Adam is. Like, there's so much that is just, like, not even by the characters treated as common knowledge. That's why I like Bayonetta as a character, because she's smart. She figures things out, and you can tell she figures things out before the game actually explains stuff. And also, she so doesn't give a shit about anyone else's bullshit. She's a selfish character who says, fuck you, got mine, and, like, if people are, like, saying weird shit like, oh no, Arc-Eve, Origin, you're fucking around and finding out, she's just like, whatever, dude, you don't fuck with a witch. Like, she so is not someone who's gonna be like, what? She'll just be like, either I get this or I don't. If I get it, then cool. If I don't, whatever, I'm just gonna kill everyone who's fucking with me anyway. That's all that matters. So, like, there's a lot of weird things that happen with, like, Fairy King Luca and just... it's real dumb. But I do think the emotional core of the narrative of, like, Bayonetta caring about Luca and him having to deal with his inner demons, literally. That's kind of a detraction that the multiverse story holds it back from as well, though, is because there's kind of too much going on. Like, characters will just get shuffled out of the plot when the writers can't figure out what they want, what they need them to do in that moment. And then they'll get brought back in later when it's convenient, sometimes literally out of thin air. Like, in terms of the construction, in terms of the skeleton, the functional, like, nuts and bolts and screws of a story being put together in front of you, I think the fact that it's a multiverse story is a huge detraction and a huge thing holding it back. But there is substance to it. There is an emotional core. There is a heart to this story, and I do think that was handled well. And I just love how, like, the unabashed, like, no insincerity whatsoever, no irony whatsoever, just, like, the sincere heart of every single Platinum game is here. Like, literally, you're fighting the final boss, and he's like, how is this possible? I'm the multiverse god, what the fuck? And another character has a line that's like, as long as you fight for what you believe, you can do anything. And he means it. And the game means it. And it's like, oh, like, it hit me, come on. Like, it's so nice to have, like, that kind of sincerity in a story. And, oh man, that ending, where you get through the final boss, like, from beginning to end, literally starts out with a Godzilla kaiju brawl, and then Bayonetta launches the final boss into space, and she says, flying to the moon without me, and it's like, oh shit, Fly Me to the Moon is the theme song from the first Bayonetta! And then she goes to space to fight the final boss because, motherfucker, it's a Platinum game. Of course that's what's gonna happen. And then she's fighting them, and then, like, the souls of all the other Bayonettas from all the other universes start fighting alongside her. And it's like, it's so cool! And then, like, they get the final hit on the boss, and, like, 2 more souls fly out of them, and they don't pop up yet, they fly off, and it's like, oh shit, what's that setting up? And then, like, the intro of the game gets repeated, where you replay through the same sequence as the intro of the game, only it's with Pigtails Bayonetta instead of, Beehive Bayonetta, like at the beginning. And then the other 2 Bayonettas show up. Bayonetta from Bayonetta 1 shows up, and Bayonetta from Bayonetta 2 shows up, and they're like, yeah, we're Bayonetta 1 and 2 now. And it's like, oh, the first 2 games are in the 3rd game. And then they fight the final boss, and the HUD is different because of the, like, she has the magic meter, and they're doing their special moves from the first game, and Umbran Climax that you can't do in the 3rd game, and then Pigtails Bayonetta breaks free, and the final boss is like, I'm the big bad final boss, fuck you. And then Pigtails Bayonetta, Beehive Bayonetta, and Short Hair Bayonetta, Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, and Bayonetta 3 combine together into one Bayonetta. And everyone's like, what? And you're like, oh shit! And then you fight the final boss as all 3 Bayonettas in one. And it's the sickest shit! It's just so cool! And then you beat the final boss, and he's like, fuck. and then like Bayonetta and Luca fucking kiss, and it's like, finally. And then Viola gets a final boss, and it's with like an evil version of Bayonetta, and it's like, oh, she's the new main character now. She's the new Nero. She's graduated. She's the main character. And then, like, every single multiverse is destroyed, and, like, New York is a crater, and the entire planet is just a whirling ocean of death. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, what happens after the screen fades to black? What's even going on here? And then the epilogue is just like, oh, yep, peaceful day in New York again, whoom-de-doom, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's open to interpretation on purpose. It's vague and doesn't explain anything on purpose. You can come up with whatever explanation you want. Did they set the multiverse back to normal and everyone goes back to their normal lives and it's a happy ending for everyone? If you want to believe that, you can. Did all of the universes just get condensed down? Like, did the Singularity, and that's the reason he's called the Singularity, get what he wanted, and he just made all the universes into one universe, and now this is like the single universe, and it's a combination of all the other universes? If you want to think that, you can. Like, it's that literary thing of, like, there is no meaning. You can't read any meaning into it because it's so vague and so open to interpretation as to facilitate any reading, any conclusion, and any conclusion you come to is just as valid as any other conclusion. And I don't have a problem with that. Like I like happy endings. I appreciate a story having a happy ending and leaving the door open, because, like, otherwise, man, this is like literally everyone dies in this game. Like, every single character dies in this game, and Viola is left alone in a dead world, and the entire multiverse has been destroyed. Like, there's nowhere to go from there. It's over. Like, existence is at an end at that point. Like, at some point you gotta make room for the happy ending, right? Fuck it. Like, it hit me. To me, it hit. I appreciated, the ending epilogue cinematic of fading in on New York and being like, oh, the Twin Towers are there. No, they're actually there. That would have been too much. Oh yeah, and Jennifer Hale fucking killed it. There was a part in the ending where the other two Bayonettas show up to help out, and I legitimately thought, oh, was it all a stunt? And they actually did get Helena Taylor to come back for this cameo role at the very end. That's how good Jennifer Hale did. Like, she nailed it. She did, like, every version of Bayonetta, and there were a lot. She did Rosa, who has a different voice completely. She did such a good job. Like, wow. Good job, Jennifer Hale. She is the voice of Bayonetta now. That's her. She done did it. I really like Viola. Anna Brisbane. Yeah, overall, good game. Good job with the good game, you guys. You made a good game. I just think, like, the worst parts about it are the same parts that are bad about every other story of its type. You know what I mean? Like, every other story of its type has these same problems with it. The audio will just cut out on, like, the weirdest parts for spoiler purposes. Yeah, overall, I would say Bayonetta 3, very good, has some downsides to it. It had a better ending than Bayonetta 2. I'll give it that for free. It did not have as good an ending as Wonderful 101, but on the other hand, that's not fair. It's not fair to I'm only comparing it to Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2. It's not fair to compare it to Wonderful 101. Of course it's not as good as Wonderful 101. Wonderful 101 is, like, the best game ever. And has the best ending of any Platinum game. Like, that's not fair. You can't hold Bayonetta 3 against Wonderful 101. Of course it's not as good as Wonderful 101. nothing can be. But overall, let's see, if I had to give it a rank, because in Platinum games it goes from Stone, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Pure Platinum. I think I'd give it a solid Gold. And that's the rank that I got, like, for my normal run-through. My average was about a Gold, which is nice. Oh, and I loved the fucking mini-game with Super Spy Jun, where it's like a 2D, like, pseudo-stealth game. That's so cute. Oh, and I love... all the boss fights were fantastic. They were, like, all the mini-game boss fights were great and creative and adorable and themed around the universe they were set in. Like, the first one is in Japan, and so it's a Godzilla kaiju fight. And it's all slow and lumbering and kind of like a rock, paper, scissors kaiju fight. The second one is set in China, and it's a Journey to the West reference. Like, the boss is Sun Wukong, and you're playing as, like, the Buddha, just, like, toying with him. And at the end, he even gets trapped under a mountain, and it's like, yo! The Egypt one is a boss fight with the Scorpion Spider, and then also the bird demons fighting like a giant snake monster. I'm sure that's a reference to Egyptian mythology of some kind that I'm just not educated enough to know what the reference is. And then the minigame boss fight in France with the Arsène Lupin Phantom Thief Bayonetta is you use the frog demon. Her true form is Milady, my lady from the Three Musketeers, and she does like an opera battle. Hold on, Milady, Three Musketeers. Yeah, Milady de Winter, a fictional character in the novel The Three Musketeers, set in 1625 France. She is a spy for the Cardinal Richelieu and one of the dominant antagonists of the story. All of the boss fights have you playing as the antagonist, which I think is cute, because again, Sun Wukong is the protagonist, and you're fighting Sun Wukong. And so it's a rhythm game. It's an opera rhythm game where you're playing as Milady de Winter. It's fucking dope. All of the boss fights were great. I love them. I'm gonna look it up. Egyptian mythology, bird, scorpion. Oh, Isis. The goddess Isis in Egyptian mythology was occasionally represented as a scorpion or a bird. Bayonetta 3 boss fight references. Let's see if someone already did this. No. I'm sure the Egyptian one is a reference to some kind of story or mythology story as well. I didn't catch it. But those are all great. All the boss fights were great. Platinum. Platinum just fucking kills it every single time. They're so great. Yeah, I think it belongs in the Pantheon. It has the Platinum pedigree, I would say. Like, it's definitely not a perfect game. I would give it a gold. I would say Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2 are Platinum rank. I would give Bayonetta 3 a gold rank. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's a good game. It's just in comparison to its brethren. That's the only detriment is when the shadow of Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2 is long and shady. It has a better ending than Bayonetta 2 does. And the ending counts for a lot. The ending absolutely counts for a lot, so I'll give it that. Yeah, that's Bayonetta 3. Good game. Bayonetta with pigtails, probably her best look. Put them all three side by side. I think Pigtails Bayonetta is the best looking one. Okay. Bayonetta 3.